ಚಂಡೆವಾದ್ಯದವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. This is in honor of our guest of honor, Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Shri Bommai ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. I extend a very warm welcome to our Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Shri Basavaraj Bommai. Friends, we are living in very trying times. We are living in a VUCA world. I hope all of you know what the word VUCA stands for. The acronym is V for volatility, U for uncertainty, C for complexity, and A for ambiguity. So we are living in a world of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. In fact, this very convention is being held at the peak of such a VUCA phenomenon. In this background, with the permission of the dignitary on the stage, I would like to start this part of the special session with a very short Shanti mantra. Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. The meaning goes like this: may there be an abundance of well-being in all. May there be an abundance of peace in all. May there be an abundance of fulfillment in all. May there be an abundance of auspiciousness in all. May there be peace. May the whole world be happy and contented. Now I request Kumari Anvita to render a beautiful song. Please come over to the dais. The song, I'll give you a little background about the song. The invocation song is already over, but today Anvita, she is an intro about Anvita. She is a Sarigama season 2 winner. Can we hear it for her, please? Please come over, Anvita. She is going to render this song, Nityotsava. It is penned by late Sri Nisar Ahmed, a very well-known poet of our state. It's a state song in Kannada. It's on the beauty and the bounty of Karnataka. Some of you may not understand the lyrics, but never mind. Music has no language. You will surely appreciate what she is trying to convey, what the poet is trying to convey. Over to Anvita.
ಜೋಗದ ಸಿರಿ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಗೆಯ ತೆನೆ ಬಳುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ್ಯಾದ್ರಿಯ ಲೋಹದ ತೀರ ಉತ್ತುಂಗದ ನಿಲುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯ ಹರಿದ್ವರ್ಣವನದ ತೇಗ ಗಂಧ ತರುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ನಿನಗೆ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ. ಜೋಗದ ಸಿರಿ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಗೆಯ ತೆನೆ ಬಳುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ್ಯಾದ್ರಿಯ ಲೋಹದ ತೀರ ಉತ್ತುಂಗದ ನಿಲುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯ ಹರಿದ್ವರ್ಣವನದ ತೇಗ ಗಂಧ ತರುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ನಿನಗೆ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ. ಕರೋಕೆ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಹಲವೆನ್ನದ ಹಿರಿಮೆ ಕುಲವೆನ್ನದ ಗರಿಮೆ ಸದ್ವಿಕಾಸಶೀಲ ನುಡಿಯ ಲೋಕಾಮೃತ ಸೇವೆ ಈ ವತ್ಸರ ನಿರ್ವತ್ಸರ ಮನದುದಾರ ಮಹಿಮೆ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ನಿನಗೆ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ಜೋಗದ ಸಿರಿ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಗೆಯ ತೆನೆ ಬಳುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ್ಯಾದ್ರಿಯ ಲೋಹದ ತೀರ ಉತ್ತುಂಗದ ನಿಲುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯ ಹರಿದ್ವರ್ಣವನದ ತೇಗ ಗಂಧ ತರುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ನಿನಗೆ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ನಿನಗೆ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ ತಾಯಿ ನಿತ್ಯೋತ್ಸವ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
That was very melodious. The previous song was on the goddess of learning. This is on the goddess of our state of Karnataka. Nityotsava means every day is a celebration in our state. Thank you so much, Anvita, for that beautiful song that you rendered. Shortly, I am told that Union Minister for Women and Child Development, Srimati Smriti Irani, is waiting to join. We also have another person waiting to join, the keynote speaker, Sri Swaminathan Janakiraman, Managing Director, SBI. While we wait for them to come on virtually on the screen, I would now request CSD Nagendra Rao, President ICSI, to present the Angavastram and planter to Sri Bommai, Honorable CM of Karnataka, as a welcome gesture. Yeah. Okay. Can I request the video to be on, please? The other two dignitaries have already joined. We would love to see them. Video, please. In the interest of time, I would request CSB Narsimhan, Central Council member, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Sharada. Respected guest of honor, Sri Basavaraj Bommai, Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, keynote speaker, Mr. Swaminathan Janakiraman, who is joining us in virtual mode, Managing Director, State Bank of India, our own President, Sri C.S. Nagendra Rao, President ICSI, Mr. Ashish Mohan, Secretary ICSI, Chairman SIRC, Mr. Balasubramaniam, and other Central Council members, Chairman Bangalore Chapter, Mr. Vijayan, and the past Presidents, Regional Council members, past Central Council members who are assembled over here, past secretaries, past Chairman, Regional Council, chapters, members, students, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon and a happy new year to all of you. Dear friends, the concept of good governance is not new in India. The elements of good governance are found in our ancient Indian scriptures. The idea of good governance gained its space and can be traced in the writings of various Western scholars. Indian ancient scriptures are guiding the Western scholars in deriving new insights for the modern corporate India and has an important role in guiding the world on good governance based on its rich heritage and on its subject. Government, non-government organization, corporate sectors are instruments of governance for the economic development. It enables entitles to become more effective, efficient, provides safeguard against corruption, fraud, and mismanagement, and makes the entity more responsive to its multiple stakeholders. Almost every major economy, international body, government regulator, financial institution, public and private sector body are reforming their governance systems day in and day out, and are encouraging the initiatives of adoption of the best governance practices in their working. India is aspiring to be one of the fastest growing major economy in the world. Our digitally skilled manpower pool has grown over the years and accounts for around 75% of the global digital talent. India is expected to reach the $5 trillion economy by the year 2025. I'm sure if we will do it, despite the corona corona as a we have the difficulties we have faced against that. It is a matter of great pride that India is also constantly improving its governance standards and has been ranked 49th in the Chandler Good Governance Index, CGGI, in 2021. With the current unpredictable developments, corporates need to ensure high standard of governance, quality, accountability, and promote a stakeholder and responsive environment. Dear friends, I'm reminded of the words of Dr. James D. Wolfenson, 9th President, World Bank. Corporate governance is about promoting corporate fairness, transparency, and accountability. Incidentally, I'm also reminded of the words of our own Mr. Deepak Parekh, where he was addressing the in a conference on governance. He mentioned that you're not practicing good governance if you do something which comes into public knowledge and once you become ashamed of that. In simple words, you should do what is required of one to do, and not do anything which will get into public, which will bring about disrepute to you. Let's also not forget that our own motto, Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara. Now, I think there was an unsung hero in this house who's sitting in front of us, who's been the father of this motto. He was there in the council when this was adopted by the council, and that is none other than the Bhumiputra from Bangalore, Mr. Gopalakrishna Hegde. Sir, could you please stand up for a minute? Although it is there in the Vedic scriptures, but still, he was the one who brought it to the forefront by ensuring the council accept this as a motto. Good corporate governance brings real benefits to companies. It improves their decision-making and risk management, ensures proper accountability, creates a secure and prosperous operating environment, improves operational performance, eases their access to capital, gives confidence to the creditors, enhances the company's reputation. Regulators can only provide guidelines or set out relevant directives, and the law can only provide a limited framework which is common across the companies, but it is the culture and the ethos of the company which is required to be developed. Moral commitment to good corporate governance is something that largely comes from within. Compliance with corporate governance standards should not be treated as a checkbox approach. This essentially means, rather than asking, is this legal? The approach should be, is this the right thing to do? To survive and grow in this global competitive environment, companies must do the right thing in the right way. Since good corporate governance largely depends on the efficient functioning of the board of directors, the board must ensure the company's corporate governance policies incorporate the corporate strategy, risk management, accountability, transparency, and ethical business practices. This is essentially where the company secretary steps in, and that's where we are all. As governance professionals, we assist in developing a governance culture that complies with the law, regulations, and community expectation and reflects the contemporary good governance practices. In the words of Kofi Annan, UN Secretary General, good governance is ensuring respect for human rights and the rule of law, strengthening democracy, promoting transparency, capacity building in public administration. I once again extend my warm welcome and greetings to all the dignitaries and delegates who are present over here. Thank you.
You can see C.S. Narasimhan is a tall man. Thank you, Narasimhan sir. And we are really delighted, people from this state, that you strayed from your written speech and acknowledged the contribution of our Gopal Krishna Hegde sir. Thank you so much. And your message was do what you are required to do. Thank you very much for your brief welcome address. I take the opportunity to welcome Srimati Smriti Irani, Union Minister for Women and Child Development, and also welcome to Swaminathan Janakiraman, Managing Director, SBI. I'm able to see him now on the screen. Let's have a round of applause.
Thank you.
I would now request our President C.S. Nagendra D. Rao to deliver a brief address in this special session.
ಮೊತ್ತಮ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Very good evening. Guest of honor and chief guest for today special session, Honorable Shri Basavaraj Bommaiji, Honorable Chief Minister of State of Karnataka, all the esteemed members present on the dais, as well as all the delegates, members from the print and electronic media fraternity present over here. As I have already delivered the presidential address earlier, I would not like to say much, except to the extent that after a gap of 20 years, when this national convention is being organized at Namma Bengaluru, it is our proud moment to have our beloved Honorable Chief Minister with us. I think all of you should give a big round of applause to our beloved Chief Minister. I will only conclude to say, Yad yad achariti seshtataha tattad devehtaro janaha sayat pranam kurute lokas tada anuvartate. Whatever a great man does, that alone other men also do. Whatever he sets up the standards, the world follows. We have seen our Honorable Chief Minister has led the state by example in n number of initiatives. In the similar way, our institute, as well as our beloved members of our profession, I am sure, are going to emulate the same setting standards what Sir has said, and I am sure we are going to take our profession to the newer height, to a newer glory. With this, I conclude. Jai Karnataka, Vande Mataram.
Thank you, C.S. Nagendra. I now request the chapter chairman of Bangalore chapter and program facilitator, C.S. Vijay Kumar Sajjan, to come forward and introduce the keynote speaker, Sri Swaminathan Janakiraman.
Good evening, all. Before I introduce Swaminathan sir and the Honorable CM of Karnataka, I would like to recognize the presence of Sri N. Manjunath sir, IAS, Principal Secretary to the Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka. I request our floor management team, kindly, I request Gopal Krishna Hegde sir to present a planter and welcome him to this national convention, please. He was Manjunath Prasad sir was earlier BBMP commissioner, now presently serving as a principal secretary to the Honorable CM of Karnataka. A very good evening, dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais. it is my proud privilege and honor to introduce Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Sri Basavaraj Bommai sir. Honorable Basavaraj Bommai sir graduated in mechanical engineering from BVV College of Engineering, Hubballi. Presently, it is known as a KLE Technology University, Belgaum. He started his career with Tata Motors in Pune. He is also agriculturalist, industrialist by profession. He was elected as a member of the Legislative Council twice in the year 1998, 2004 from Dharwad local authorities. He has also served as a Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Cooperation, Law and Justice, Parliamentary Affairs. On his very first day as a Chief Minister, he has announced a scholarship for higher education to the farmer children. In August 2001 to 2021, under his leadership, Karnataka has become first state in the country to implement national education policy in the country. Now, it is my proud privilege to introduce Swaminathan Janakiraman sir, Managing Director, State Bank of India, who has joined this national convention virtually. Swaminathan sir is a Managing Director, Risk Compliances, Stress Assets for Resolution Group of State Bank of India. He is a certified anti-money laundering specialist as well as certified documentary credit specialist. He is in a career spanning over 32 years with SBI, has held various assignments across finance, corporate, international banking, trade finance, retail, digital banking, branch management. As a Chief Digital Officer of SBI, he has served as a head of digital and transaction banking verticals of banking. He was also head of trade finance at SBI branch in New York. As a nominee of SBI, he has served on the board of Bank of Bhutan and SBI JV in Bhutan. He has also headed as a position of SBI nominee director and chairman of board of SBI Payment Services Private Limited, SBI Hitachi JV company. A big round of applause to Sri Swaminathan sir for gracing this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you for both the introductions, introducing our Honorable CM and also our keynote speaker, Sri Swaminathan. May I now request Sri Swaminathan Janakiraman to deliver his keynote address.
Thank you. Am I audible? Sharda, am I audible?
Sir, yes, you are audible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Sri Basavaraj Bommai, Honorable Union Minister for Women and Child Development, Srimati Smriti Irani ji, President ICSI, Sri C.S. Nagendra Rao, Secretary ICSI, Sri Ashish Mohan, Chairman SARC ICSI, Sri N. Balasubramaniam, Chairman ICSI Bangalore Chapter, Sri Vijay Kumar Sajan, and all the dignitaries of ICSI, members, delegates, and ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. It's my proud privilege to be addressing the 49th National Convention of Company Secretaries happening today in the lovely city of Bangalore. I would have been much happier if my scheduled travel to Bangalore this morning had taken place as planned to be amongst you all in person. The current wave of COVID-19 calls for some prudence from all of us. Hence, I had to stay put in Mumbai and address the convention virtually. I am thankful for the organizers and especially my long-term friend and guide, Sri Gopalakrishna Hegde, for not only inviting me to speak in the convention, but also accommodating this request for the virtual medium virtually in the last minute. To be honest with you, I was wonderstruck when I received this request from the organizers to deliver the keynote address for this occasion. From what I know, it's a forum of highly accomplished professionals and a gathering of brilliant students who are pursuing one of the premier professional courses to serve as the beacons of hope in corporate governance. And the impressive list of invitees this time, as well as the speakers in the past events of ICSI, made me a bit nervous. As I was left wondering what to do with this invite, there was a flashback to 1987 when I left a city called Tiruchirappalli for pursuing a better career to Chennai briefly, and thereafter in early 1988 to Bangalore. After my graduation, while in Trichy, I enrolled myself as a student, both for company secretary and cost accountancy, ICSA and ICAI respectively. By 1987, I could complete the interstage of both these examinations. But once the career with SBI commenced in 1988, I quietly buried my desire to pursue any one of these courses and became a career banker. History has come a full circle that today I am bestowed with an opportunity to address the convention of company secretaries happening in Namma Bangalore. Life is stranger than fiction. I still regret that I couldn't pursue the professional courses that I wanted, which could have given me a membership to this elite forum. But God has been graceful and friends have been helpful, and I'm here in front of you as a banker. Thanks once again for this opportunity. I'm indeed honored. I was given a brief that in tune with the theme of the convention, my talk may touch upon good governance, compliances, ethical business, and challenges of turbulent times that we are currently in. As the Managing Director of State Bank of India, in charge of risk, compliance, and audit verticals, apart from the Stress Assets Resolution Group, I plan to draw upon my experiences to share a few thoughts with you all today. All of you would agree that it is good governance and ethics that determine the success and longevity of an organization. Say, for example, State Bank of India has successfully lived on for over 200 years and continues to retain the trust of people across the country only because of the fact that our predecessors have put in place a governance mechanism that has stood the test of time. And the 5 core values that we have adopted are steps: service, transparency, ethics, politeness, and sustainability. As you would see, ethics is right in the middle and forms the bedrock of all that we do in the bank. Towards this, the first thing that I would recommend is a culture of continuous learning. No matter whether you are working with a corporate or a professional CS, you are the subject matter expert and you have a duty to advise the board or your client about the right things that one should do or ought not to do. This requires investing in your profession wholeheartedly and keep reskilling and upskilling yourself at every opportunity. Second thing I would like to request you is to bring in and maintain a culture of compliance wherever you are employed. As an advisor to the board, it's not enough that we talk about the right practices, but also ensure that everyone lives by that in our thoughts and actions. As the custodian of all the proceedings that come before the board or board committees, please examine them from the lens of a professional to ensure that contents comply with the compliance standards that are expected of the corporate as well as the relevant regulations. Third is the culture of communication. I'm recommending this having studied some of the spectacular failures of some corporates. Some of them were even considered industry leaders once in their respective domain. What this means and requires is that people speak up, and as a professional meant to keep the highest standards, it is necessary that you adopt this quality. Oftentimes, when we launch investigations or do a root cause analysis of some of the mishaps in our offices, we realize that the people around were aware that something was not okay, but no one spoke up. More importantly, when the people who are entrusted with the responsibility of running the company themselves indulge in such irregular practices, it is very important that as professionals like you stand up and do the whistleblowing rather than being a mute spectator. I just want to remind you all, this was said in the welcome speech, of the Institute's motto, which reads as Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, meaning speak the truth and abide by the law. Fourth is the need to build resilience in what we do. This will prepare us for tackling uncertainties that organizations may face. If you consider the past 2 years or so, COVID has brought in a huge amount of uncertainty and turbulence. Businesses have been impacted across the segments in various degrees. We have to learn with such we have to learn to live with such unforeseen events, and it's very difficult to lay down a path that fits all situations. But the practices that we follow, the consistency that we maintain, the documentation that we create should help us navigate such times much better. Fifth is sustainability. As an important cog in the wheel of corporate governance, the ESG goals that corporates are expected to adopt and practice have become significant. I'm sure large corporates have created positions of corporate social responsibility officers, chief sustainability officers, etc. But as a custodian of board proceedings, it is important that you all understand this deep enough to ensure that the board actions conform to the ESG goals that have been adopted. Because we don't have a place to survive if our organizations don't survive as responsible corporate citizens. Sixth is the need to believe that processes are as important as the outcome. Oftentimes, we get outcome driven and somewhere adopt the practice of ends justify the means approach. As a professional assisting the board, if you let this approach seep in, it's a recipe for a guaranteed disaster. Towards this, it is important that you take ownership to lay down set processes or SOPs, as we call them, and ensure that they are adhered to in letter and spirit. Seventh, again, this was said in the welcome speech. Seventh is to avoid the tick box approach. ICSI has been doing a tremendous job with SSB laying down secretarial standards, which is the industry benchmark for all of you to follow in your day-to-day actions. From my experience, I find that at times, these standards are followed in a manner that's not in conformity with the spirit of such standards. Doing something for the sake of doing is not going to take us far. Hence, let us take our job seriously, and that will guarantee you a far better outcome. Eighth is to ensure confidentiality. As someone who is assisting the board, you are privy to a lot of confidential information that flows through the board. Some of them could be even unpublished price-sensitive information or trade secrets. As a professional, if one were to command respect and if you want the ears of your board, you have to assure them of utmost privacy and confidentiality in your dealings. Such a trust is important if you were to render your services efficiently to the board. Ninth is the need to adopt digitalization. The way in which any service is being rendered or consumed has largely gone digital. Gone are the days when we used to get a suitcase full of board committee papers. Today, everything is in the board pack. The ability with which you are able to facilitate ease of access, timeliness, as well as adequacy of the papers on the board pack will help the directors discharge their responsibilities more meaningfully. This also helps in long-term record keeping with ease of retrieval. The 10th and final commandment, if I may say so, is living up to the regulatory expectations. I just want to reiterate here that the key word is expectations and not just guidelines. Because guidelines are anyway given, you have got to adhere to them. But anticipating and managing the expectations is what is going to separate the men from the boys. This stance helps you to always maintain an industry leading posture. When it comes to regulations, you just don't want to be a follower, but an industry thought leader. That's possible if you engage yourself constantly in dialogue with your peer group as well as the regulators. Anticipation is the key. Eagerness to adopt ahead of the curve certainly helps. Lastly, I would like to add that you are someone who is entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring that the board functions in a manner that is in the interest of all stakeholders. Companies today have all types of investors, the promoters, the institutional investors, and the retail, to name a few. And also, there are other important stakeholders, the employees, the customers, and the government and the society at large. Every corporate has equal responsibility to protect the interest of all such stakeholders. And as a professional assisting the board, you all have an immense responsibility to live up to that expectation, and I'm sure you all will. Once again, I wish to thank the organizers for this opportunity and thank the audience for a patient listening. I wish the convention a great success. I wish each one of you a great year ahead and a happy Makara Sankranti that's coming up in a week or so. Wishing you all the very best in all that you endeavor to do. God bless. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sri Swaminathan ji. It was the pearls of wisdom coming to company secretary professionals from none less than the head of the biggest bank in India, State Bank of India. You appreciated the efforts of ICSI in initiating and promulgating secretarial standards. It means a lot to us, and it also reminds us of the responsibility. From the 10 commandments that you said, I think the best I would pick is process is as important as outcome. And that's what is governance all about. It is not only the path, not only the goal, but the path that we take is equally important. Thank you very much for your time, and we would have loved to have you physically, but even virtually you were as effective. Thank you so much also for the Sankranti wishes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we have a guest of honor, Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Shri Basavaraj Bommai. I would request you to address the gathering, sir.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಸಂಕ್ರಾಂತಿ ಹಬ್ಬದ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು. Good afternoon, everybody. And my warmest greeting for Makara Sankranti. 49th National Convention of Company Secretaries is been held in Bangalore. It's indeed a pleasure to have you all from different parts of the country to converge in Bangalore for your national convention and charter the future plan of this association. I recognize the presence of Sri Narsimhan, Council Member ICSI, Sri Vijay Kumar Sajjan, Chairman ICSI Bangalore, CS Nagendra Rao, President ICSI, Sri Balab Subramaniam, Chairman SIRC, Ashish Mohan, Secretary ICSI. Ladies and gentlemen, I was wondering, sitting there, what I'm doing here amidst all the learned people. You have been in this profession very successfully, and you have been guiding the corporate and other companies for a long time, and you are the very close spectator how the economy is changing, how the business methods are changing, how the company laws have been changing. But I am not a company man. Therefore, I was feeling an odd man out in this convention. Probably you have called me because I've been heading the state. Otherwise, you would have not called me. That's hard fact of life. But certainly, I am a student of economics. Certainly, I am a student of philosophy. Certainly, I deal with economics of life. I have a responsibility of running a state. And state consists of different companies. Hence, I'll be meeting company secretaries in and out. So whatever little I have gathered, that's my knowledge. But being a student of economy, I know certain basics. Economy is a very important aspect, right from our Shastras, Artha Shastra. Shastras have dealt with economy in details. And the second aspect is Purushartha. For a man to be a man has to have a artha, that is a job or a work or activity which will bring well-being to the family and society. So these two are fundamentally very important. Artha Shastra for the country, for the society, for the human welfare, and Purushartha for our self-improvement, self-goals, self-inspiration. So we have to deal with two things. Something which is happening inside our thought process and something happening outside the world. Therefore, your job becomes very important. At the same time, your job becomes little complicated. Your role becomes multi-roles and questionable roles. Therefore, company secretaries are respected as well as avoided. Am I right? I need a response. I need a response, otherwise I will not be able to continue. Economics is not all about profit loss. Most of a common man thinks that economy is growth, goals, profit or loss. It is not so. At the same time, philosophy is not about papa and punya. It is something more. But we normally believe that philosophy is papa punya and economics is profit and loss. But I'm being a student of both. I see paradoxically. I see papa punya in economics and I see profit loss in philosophy. And that is the exact job of company secretary. See, I'll tell you, company secretary is a very pivotal, important role, but without controls. All the economic activity of a company is done, then it is brought to your notice. Your job is to bring it in the framework of law and see that certain principles and guiding principles of a company is taken forward. Therefore, It is very interesting. And how does the importance come to you? If there was a very set of economic rules and a very set of a company rules, your role is not necessary. Madam, in her opening remarks, she was telling about uncertainty, ambiguity. Company secretary role depends on the uncertainty and ambiguity. If there is no ambiguity, who the hell is going to ask you? Am I right? So, living in a world of uncertainty, ambiguity, another one word, first word you used, what? Volatility. Volatility is the beautiful energy. Without volatility, without motion, what can grow? If there is no volatility in a company, company will not grow. Status quoist will never grow. Makki ka makki will not work. Therefore, you should think always beyond. Don't just see, believe and think. Just think beyond. A company secretary who thinks beyond will not only advise the company, but he will lead the company. A company should always look forward for a company secretary for any important decisions. That is the success of company secretary, not that after taking all decisions, bringing it to the table, to the board, and you will be in 2 minds to tell the truth or not. If you tell the truth, sometimes you lose the job. If you don't tell the truth, then the company might totally go fat and you lose, otherwise also you lose the job. Therefore, it is better to tell the truth and lose the job. Economy is an activity, not money. Economy is an activity. Economy grows through activity. Money doesn't breed money. A lot of people think that money will breed money. No. Supposing I have a lot of money and I just keep it in my bank accounts or my lockers, it will not hatch money like a hen. It's not a hen. Secondly, even though we make invest in some company, that company has to do some activity, then only it will be repaid. So activity is economy. It is not the finance. Finance is the product of economy. Economy is life. Life of a country, life of an association, life of a company. Therefore, I want company secretaries to be involved and have a say in the economic activity, not only in the company, but to the country also. The Indian Company Secretary Association has got a very good past, credible past. You have to stick to the certain principles. Chartered Accountant Association and Company Secretary Association has done wonders for the business community in this country, which was running on the business, which was not it was only running on certain common sense. You have brought in business sense into that and company sense also. But I'm sorry, company secretary and its association is not involving in the economic policy, economic activity, economic guidance of the society and the government. You have to raise the voice. You have to raise the concern. You have to address the issue and be not only a part of problem, be a part of solution. As I see and as I hear, there are a lot of good ideas, intelligent ideas in your community because you deal with them. There's a lot of difference between discussing a problem and living with the problem. People in the villages, they live with the problems and we discuss the problems. So there is a solution where people live with the problem. They know. And as far as economy is concerned, both chartered accountants and company secretaries know better than anybody, including RBI. Therefore, I feel the 49th National Convention should ponder over this. Now, you are a part of economy, but I want this association that economy should be part of company secretaries. You didn't get it. You people didn't get it. That side people didn't get it. They are not believing me. How it is possible? Economy should be part of company secretaries. Why not? When you start leading, everybody will follow. When you are not ready to lead, you have to follow. So you want to be a follower or a leader? That's the question. My Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, leads. Therefore, you see a lot of changes. Lot of changes you see. Some might be uncomfortable for you people, I know. RERA. Where was the law for a man who purchases a flat? Nobody had thought over it. And nobody thought that there has to be somebody to look into it. This is all about good governance I'm speaking. Your theme of good governance. Think of the people who make you. Think of the people who have made you. Think of the people who will be your future. Therefore, a good law is all about. Now what's happening? We have got too many government servants, too little service. We have got too many laws, too little order. That's why the first thing my Prime Minister did is, he removed most of the redundant laws and brought in a fresh air in dealing with the economy, in dealing with commerce, in dealing with the problems of the people. GST Council. There is a lot of debate about GST Council. I was telling my colleagues, just because few uncomfortable decisions are there, they said, we have to go back, revert back. I said, look here, devolution of funds, other funds from Government of India used to come very little and too slow. You didn't have a forum. Now we got a forum to speak. This is the first step. So you have to be very positive about the developments. You have to be part of the development. Don't be a spectator. Be a part of it. Be a part of the system. Be a part of solution. That's all your job is. Your job is really wonderful. Sometimes I wish I could have become company secretary. I run an industry, but I have got so many ideas which I can't implement. If I was a company secretary, I would have advised a lot of companies to implement. Your role is really very, very interesting. Interesting because people make mistakes. Your what you call your market or your food is lot of companies doesn't follow the rules. They are in a hurry to make profit, so they don't follow the ethical rules. That's what I said, Papa Punya in economics. A money earned in the righteousness is a punya. A money earned in a wrong means is a papa. You might have profit, but that doesn't take you anywhere. And that is what you have to see. You start seeing Papa Punya in economics. Your role will change, your thinking will change, your status will change, your importance will change. There is no magic in economy, only results. There is no magic. There is only results. Therefore, to achieve results, you have to have lot of thinking and lot of guts when you put one step forward. Niche your identity. Not necessarily you follow what has been followed. There has to be path-breaking thinking. Break the path. I'm telling you, make your own path. There's a saying, be a part of history or create a history. Choice is yours. Because a change in you will bring change in the companies, and change in companies will bring a change in economy, and change in economy will bring a change in the life of a common man. You are directly connected to the common man. Don't think that we are only connected to the companies and the bosses of the companies and the directors of the companies. A lot of companies do activity which is related to the common man. 1% growth in agriculture will lead to 4% growth in manufacturing, and it will lead to 10% growth in service sector. So the fundamentals has to be very clear. And if the fundamentals of company secretaries are clear, then the company is very fortunate. Company will grow. I can keep on talking, but I think I have bored you. In this country, all the responsible people has to ride two horses in the same direction. One is efficiency, another is equity. Efficiency is a merit where you drive the growth. Equity is that the inclusiveness of everybody, from the last man in the society to everybody, the efficiency is reached there. And in fact, it's the other way around. The efficiency of a last man will bring in a lot of success to the man at the top. Your company MDs and company chairmen will hover around all the glory. Company chairmen hover around all the glory, but the worker in that industry or in that concern, in that commercial activity, he is the main man. Even in Indian economy, the bottom of the pyramid is important. The movers and shakers of economy is from bottom of the pyramid. I can, as a chief minister, I can sanction a road. I can give few crores. But if there is no physical activity, what is the use of that money? A man who puts star in the hot sun and makes the road, he is the game changer. And once he does a road, vehicles will move, economy will move, I'll get my taxes. Now you tell me, who is the catalyst in economic activity? The last man or the person who was given money? capital is important, but it's not everything. The activity is very important. Bottom of the pyramid changes the life of the people at the top of the pyramid. So whenever a company secretary thinks of a company, you just think what company is doing to the last man in their own company, forget the world. In that company, what the company is doing for the last man. Because if the last man survives, company also survives. Same thing to the country also. Therefore, with all these concerns and with all this hope, I got a great hope on this association and each one of you that you have been facing all these things, but collectively, if you think, then you can really guide our economy. And I got lots of hope from chartered accountants and company secretaries. These two pillars will change this scenario of Indian economy. And India is a very complex country. Different strata of people are there. In most of the country, it is either middle class or upper class. In some underdeveloping country, it is poor, middle or upper class. Here it is not so. Very poor, poor, middle poor, then middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, rich, lower, upper, super, supernova rich. This is the cosmic combination. So we don't have a ready-made solutions. We don't have fixed solutions. It's a dynamic thing. So let us have a dynamic solutions also. And once again, I repose the hope on this association and each member of this association. So whenever I meet next time, I think we have to discuss a lot. Let's do that. Everything starts with the discussion. Thank you very much for allowing me to express my few little views. It might be little different, it might be difficult, but however, you have been very kind, clapping for me, encouraged me to talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for this. He deserves a standing ovation. Okay. Sir, it was a mind-boggling motivational talk, I must say. Actually, the next session is about transformational leadership, but you have awakened in us the thought that we must not be just compliance officers or leaders, but we must be game changers. It was mind-boggling to know the depth of the understanding you have as company secretary. You have certain perception, but you've also thrown us certain challenges to reach a stage. We will definitely live up to it. I really like the twist you gave from negative VUCA to a positive VUCA. That's what we are all in today's world. Thank you very much for explaining the role of company secretary as a multidimensional professional and also giving a call for action. I know we are catalysts for change, but to get promoted as game changers, we need to do a lot. And I'm sure that our institute is taking all its efforts and making its best steps to move towards that. Thank you so much. It was truly motivational. Can we hear it once more for our CM, please? Sir, we have our Union Minister for Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani ji, joining in. I hope you will be staying back for about next 15 minutes. Can we have your presence? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Is there? Madam Union Minister, Srimati Smriti Irani ji, welcome once again. Thank you for joining us virtually. It's my privilege and pleasure to introduce you. Srimati Smriti Zubin Irani is currently the Union Minister for Women and Child Development. Prior to this, she served as the Union Minister for Human Resource Development, Information and Broadcasting and Textiles from 2014 to 2021. She is India's youngest Union Cabinet Minister in the government and the first woman to hold office as Union Minister for HRD and as a Union Minister for Textiles. She has previously served the BJP in various capacities, the notable ones being as National Vice President and National President of BJP Women's Wing. Srimati Smriti Irani has launched Saksham, the first ever vision document released by any political organization in India, which underlines policies, programs, and implementation tools for the upliftment of the differently abled in India. In the 126th Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Srimati Smriti Irani was unanimously elected as rapporteur for the Standing Committee on Sustainable Development, Finance and Trade. It's a huge honor for her and for our country. The World Economic Forum has named Mrs. Irani as a young global leader from India for the year 2015. This is the brief profile that we have, but all of us know that she's a multi-dimensional woman and an achiever in her own rights. May I now request you to deliver your special address, ma'am.
Honorable Chief Minister Karnataka, and an amalgamation of some of the brightest minds and the most adept administrators of corporate India. My salutations and greetings to you in this National Convention of Company Secretaries of India. You have pronounced the theme of good governance, which is the universal dharma. The Honorable Chief Minister has enunciated many pillars of the economy and Indian philosophy in his address. Today, as not minister, but as a citizen, what is my desire of this congregation? Given that the Honorable Chief Minister has spoken much from the economic perspective, what does the future of India ask of you? When you talk about universal dharma, how does it get structured in an organization? A nation which is enveloped by a global pandemic rose to the challenge and ensured that the benefits of good governance are not restricted to the country and its citizens alone, but becomes a rite of passage, a right of help, a right of solution to the global community at large. Vaccine Maitri is one such shining example. A nation of 1 billion plus citizens waited with bated breath for its scientific community to come up with medical solutions for the pandemic. That we today have administered as a nation over 140 crore vaccine doses free of cost to our citizens is a cause for great joy and celebration. But the fruit of success was not limited to our country alone. 166 countries benefited from our pharmacology, from our vaccines. And I think that is a true hallmark of dharma. So my first ask of company secretaries is this, that when you, through your organization, chance upon an innovation, chance upon a good management practice, chance upon a good accounting practice or HR practice, can you share the benefits and the fruits of that knowledge with smaller organizations around you? We know that the strength of our economy is not only the structured economy, the organized segments of our economy, but also the unorganized segment. How can the benefits and the lessons and learnings of the organized structures of our economy transcend the boundaries and become beneficial for the unorganized sector? I am hopeful that the convention will reflect on this issue as well. When you speak of universal dharma, it speaks of justice. And as the Honorable CM has pronounced, that company secretaries will benefit the organization best if they don't reduce themselves to mere followers, but also lead. What can you lead on? Not only on principal economic issues within your organizations, but also principal management and HR issues. For instance, as Minister of Women and Child Development, does each and every company that you service have a very robust internal complaints committee for women working in your organization? When your organization looks at its hiring practices, is it friendly not only for women who have the aptitude, but also those who are physically challenged? Can you lead with examples in those arenas? Dharma also teaches us to be forward-looking. And today, one of the greatest instruments to look towards the future is technology. However, the challenge with technology is this: those who have it do not possibly amply use it by sharing. And those who do not have it feel the absence of it due to lack of resources. So as company secretaries, can you propagate the use of technology not only by those who are in the senior most positions in your organization, but also reach out to those who you presume do not have a need for a technology engagement? To simplify, is every member of your organization, which includes the cleaning staff, digitally literate? I say so today because when the Prime Minister pronounced the Digital India program, there was no pandemic. Many felt, what is the need for a country as massive as ours to embrace digital learning? But leadership prepares you not only for the present, but also preps you for the future that is yet unseen. Today, I can proudly say that over 2 crore Indian women have become digitally literate under the Digital India program. So as company secretaries, while you look at technology and innovation in your organizations, through your CSR activities, can you also contribute to digital literacy of the populace around your organization? And lastly, to fuel jigyasa, to fuel innovation, is a part of not only corporate dharma, but also a necessity for a growing economy and a robust society. So while corporate India today contributes to research with an oscillation of between 5 to 10% of its resources, can we reflect on the need to financially support research, which is in areas other than where the company currently operates, or the supply chain that it's a part of as a part of manufacturing of certain essentials? Again, my request is this: can we partake in research and innovation, not limited to the economic interests of the company or the organization that we're working with, but also look at the societal and national needs from the perspective of research and innovation? I've had the privilege of continuously engaging with ICSI. I can only say that you have blessed me with this opportunity to engage with you on this, your 49th National Convention. I am pleased to share with you, Honorable Chief Minister, that the last I spoke to Company Secretaries Institutes and this assimilation of some of the brightest minds of the country, my request was for them to propagate more and more women into the Company Secretaries family. I'm grateful that my request was reflected upon, and I'm sure today the asks I have of you will also be considered. Ladies and gentlemen, as I come to the close of my inputs and my observations, You bear the flag of Satyam Vadh. And as the Chief Minister said, that is one of your greatest challenges. That truth be not measured, but be spoken without fear. For when you're true to yourself, you are true not only to your organization, you are true to your principles and the value systems that represent your familial, society, and institutional ethos. Looking forward to your true contribution in nation building, my grateful thanks for inviting me to the National Convention and my compliments to a safe, productive, and robust year ahead. Jai Hind.
She's virtual, but I think we are all physically and virtually present. Can we have a standing ovation for that inspiring address by our Union Minister? Ma'am, you said you are blessed with the opportunity, but I guess I can speak on behalf of all our delegates that we are blessed with the opportunity that you spared time for us and motivated us to achieve better. Thank you so much for your pearls of wisdom, and you asked us to share our knowledge and make sure that we are not limited to boundaries of economic benefit, but go beyond that. Let me also tell you, ma'am, I think I heard you right. You were talking about the number of women company secretaries. If I heard you right, I can tell you with a lot of joy and happiness, I've been a member for 30 years, but the numbers back then and the numbers now, you can see in the audience, you can also see in the number of women who are participating in this, who are qualifying and they are continuing their career. Our institute and the course is very, very useful and very flexible for women, and we are participating in the corporate growth. Thank you so much for your wonderful address to all of us. We would have loved to have an interactive session with you. I'm not sure whether you have the time now.
I don't mind taking questions, but I think that the Honorable Chief Minister's time is extremely valuable. And given protocol and the fact that he's quite a gentleman, he would not leave till I see speaking. So in the interest of time of the lead administrator of the state of Karnataka, I think you should excuse me from the interaction.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll definitely look forward to another opportunity to have a more detailed interacting session with you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
I would request you to kindly stay back for a few minutes. We have an important event now. We are releasing a few publications at the hands of our CM. So I would request you to stay online. I request CS N. Balasubramaniam to facilitate the release of about 8 publications which our institute has come out with. Quickly, the first one is a progress report for the year 2021 of ICSI. We have constantly been updated through various digital communications. Today we have a physical publication here. The second one is Doing Business in India. The booklet will provide for a basic understanding as well as a guidance on setting up business in India. The third one is Referencer on SEBI Delisting of Equity Shares Regulation 2021. What does this publication contain? It contains the comparative analysis of the erstwhile and the delisting regulations, suggestive formats, checklists. Friends, I'm sure it's going to be very useful. Next, we have a very extensively prepared guidance note on prevention of insider trading, revised edition. ICSI is pleased to announce the release of this edition. Besides covering updated regulatory provisions of PIT, it also includes relevant circulars, specimen format of the disclosures, important case laws, and informal guidance by SEBI on the subject to facilitate easy understanding and compliance, both in letter and spirit. The fifth publication that is being released. The fifth publication is a compilation of 100 landmark judgments of NCLAT on IBC from the year 2019 to 2021. We're quite positive that the readers will find this book useful and it will serve as a handmade guide for quick reference. Our institute has been offering many certificate courses, and one of them is securities laws. Reference material is being released today on securities laws, and this is prepared by ICSI to attain an understanding of various securities laws and respective legislative changes. We also have a launch of BOB card. This is in association with Bank of Baroda credit cards together with RuPay and JCB, which launches an exclusive BOB ICSI diamond card. There are a lot of other details. I think you can look at it later. Now I would request the organizers to play a video. This is the video launch of the first ICSI Guru Shrestha Awards.
ICSI Guru Shrestha Awards for the teachers of highest secretary from Commerce stream and faculties of Commerce, Law and Management.
Currently, it's the BOB card. ICSI has taken many such initiatives, and today we are thankful to both Bank of Baroda officials who are present here. Can we have the video on the... I will quickly read out what is the Guru Shrestha Award. It is to honor teachers and faculties across India who through their commitment in industry have contributed immensely towards improving the quality of commerce, finance and law related education. These teachers and faculties have augmented the lives of students and have inspired them to reach their goals successfully. These were the publications. Thank you very much, CM sir, for releasing all the publications. Now I request Secretary of ICSI CS Ashish Mohan to formally propose a vote of thanks to all the dignitaries who addressed the gathering today.
Shri Basavaraj Bommai, Honorable Chief Minister, State of Karnataka, Srimati Smriti Irani, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Women and Child Development, dignitaries, other dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, dear members. Greetings to you once again. Dear members, you all are aware, National Convention, as we all know, is again an assembly of intellect, discussions and all, but it is also a collection of our spirit, our collective spirit of our brotherhood, our joining together, and an acknowledgement of our role in the nation building process. And in this celebration, we are really, really thankful that the Honorable Chief Minister of the State of Karnataka has been with us. Thank you, sir, for your presence here, and your words of encouragement will really go a long way, and your suggestions definitely will be taking it up. Madam Smriti Irani's words of wisdom, and also we are really thankful for her words of wisdom and also her suggestion with regard to governance aspect with regard to the unorganized sector is something which we would be very keen to work on. I also place on record my sincere thanks to Shri Swaminathan Janakiraman, Managing Director, SBI. I thank each one of you. Thank especially Narasimhan sir, Council Member, President, and all others. I also request our President ICSI to kindly hand over a memento to our respected Chief Minister. Also request the team ICSI to kindly place the Shahid Ki Baiti certificate for Srimati Srimati Smriti Irani ji, Honorable Minister, Minister of Women and Child Development, as a token of our gratitude. Kindly display that. Okay. Thank you. Also, would like to display the Shahid Ki Beti certificate to Shri Swaminathan Janaki Raman, Managing Director, SBI. Shahid Ki Beti is a unique initiative from the institute. The money collected from this particular scheme is actually collected and actually donated to the Defense Ministry for taking care of the martyrs' daughters' education. I thank you, each one of you, for your presence and the encouragement throughout this session. Thank you.